Oh, hold on, hold on. Oh.
Oh, you got your hair right? Y'all good? Y'all good? Hey, hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio. I'm your host, Mark Kulagowski, and thank you for spending your digital time with us. It's time for Panelists' Favorites, and the decade is 2020. This is the last of the decades right now. I guess we'll just have to survive until 2030. 5 favorite albums each of our panelists will have to bring. But really, the most important position in the entire world in 2020 was a grocery store clerk. I salute them for sure. Nobel Peace Prizes for everyone. Okay?
I use the self-checkout.
Machines doing God's work, baby. We lost a lot in 2020. Self-control over toilet paper, nearly the freedom to leave our house, the ability to read lips, the ability to send our children to school, the ability to go to work or a job. Birthdays were reduced to a honk, a wave, a sign, and a drive-by. That saved on having to feed people, so I was pretty happy there. We could go outside, but we needed a flakjack to protect us from murder hornets. What is a murder hornet? Dear God, the whole world was collapsing in 2020. No wonder the music was like, you had to dig deep and find something. We lost the ability to gather for sporting events, concerts, book club, but rioting and looting was okay. Get that. That's okay. Everybody just gather around. Hey, shoot some people. That's a good idea. Whatever. In music, we lost one of the greatest drummers in rock history, Neil Peart of Rush. The Gambler played his last hand, Kenny Rogers. The greatest composer, the good, the bad, and the ugly, just to name one of hundreds, Ennio Morricone died. And of course, one of the greatest guitarists in rock history, metal history, Eddie Van Halen, tapper extraordinaire from Van Halen. But in music, we had something that helped us, got us through. I don't know if anybody knew this, but there was this little thing called Side Door, shows from the artist's house. Now there's a concept, huh? Well, I want to thank Sarah Sleen for doing 2 shows from her house, which were quite impressive. It's nothing like having the artist up close and personal. So that was kind of cool. Happy Hour with Whitehorse on Facebook. I don't know if anybody caught that. The 2 of them just in their living room, their 5-year-old announcing them, and then they played some song. Crazy, huh? Wait a minute. Let's talk about Grimes and Elon Musk. All right. The greatest names for children. X-Ash A12. Yeah. That person joined Exa Dark Sidriel and Techno Mechanus as the other children in that bunch. Yes. Bravo. Apparently, they're way too elite for the rest of us. Although if you listen to a Grimes record, you may not think so. And then they're going to these albums, bands, artists we're going to speak of tonight that despite all of that I just mentioned, they didn't put a gun in their mouth and pull the trigger. Instead, they put out an album in that year and just said the hell with it all and let it be what it is. So after all that, please remember to unsubscribe because I probably just aggravated everyone. But maybe you'll subscribe. I don't know. We don't want you to miss out on things, rants, craziness for me, and of course, the smartness of our panelists. And tonight, they're bringing it because it's got to be done. We've got echo. So tonight,
I'm going to
Jeff
start
Young's from
on
Florida.
subscription service and ask everyone to subscribe.
Spoken like Jeff Young. My wife, Sue Kulagowski, the voice of reason. And we've got Dam on the panel, Deb Armitage Hicks Maloney. And of course, the Grateful Dude has joined us from the only place that remained calm during the storm, Hawaii.
Yeah, because we didn't let anybody in.
Oh, got it.
So here we are at 2020. I just did that crazy thing, which probably never do again. Oh, wait a minute. Do it every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Does anybody have like was it difficult? Was it something you didn't expect?
Yeah, I don't think anybody wanted to release anything in 2020 unless they absolutely had to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or if you were like Nine Inch Nails and had like leftover movie music, you just put it out there for free online.
Yeah,
I was
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was a taker of that. That's more on that later.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it as far as me trying to pick what albums because I wasn't actually listening to that. I was just trying to survive. Um, I was one of the few people that went to work every single day.
Yeah, me
However,
too.
when I look, I didn't have a day off and I didn't understand why this was happening with everybody. I was kind of disconnected that way. However, when I looked at, like, if when the challenge came out and said, your top 5 of 2020, I, Googled it or whatever, and I went, well, this is the year of the females, it seemed because and I don't want to be judgmental, but I thought all the men were just sitting around waiting for the females to do everything because they were laying in bed having like Doritos and stuff. Look at so yeah, and the
The
girls
man
are going,
cold.
this is our chance to do this. So I did look at the list. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to when Mark you gave the challenge. I wouldn't have been able to go. Oh, my favorite album of 2020. It just comes right to my head. I had to look at the list. And then I was like, Miley Cyrus and Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift. And I'm like, the women went, I need to get out of this kitchen with these kids that want to make these TikTok, desserts or whatever. So it was interesting, I think. I
Yeah, I
think it
think you
gave
can
the
only do so much baking, and then you got to write a song. I don't know.
Wait a minute. I disagree.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
all
true.
right.
Chef
Sorry.
Spoken like the master baker you
There
are.
you go. Sorry if I dissed you, but that was my take on it.
That's okay.
I will say this. I believe in what was going on. People went to comfort. If they were listening to something, it probably wasn't from 2020. They may have,
Yes.
that's might have been where they are. So sometimes, what's your favorite album 2020? Oh my God, I went back and listened to the entire catalog of Billy Joel, or I went to the entire catalog of the Beatles or something of that nature, or who knows. But anyway.
Or maybe to the artists that gave them comfort that did release an album in 2020, which was kind of what my list was.
Well, more on that later, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Okay.
And four out of my 5 records that I picked were all produced in 2018 or 19, and then
Released in 2020.
released in 20.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting too.
Yeah, I think a
Like
lot of
that.
them had that type of thing going on. I looked at that as well. So I'm gonna let the ladies start first. So we'll go Deb, we'll go Sue, then we'll go Grateful Dude, and then Jeff, and then me.
Okay.
Hopefully I can keep that in my memory who's first, but
That's all right.
Deb,
Well,
what's
it's
We'll
your
do it for you.
All right, my number 5. Like we said, it was the year of the females, it felt like, but I did my little personal way of indulging what I like without actually having to think too much about it. I did like The Weekend After Hours. He was very R&B pop, but you really couldn't like pin him down. His songs have a lot of different things going on. In this album, it was more like he introduced some electronics a little bit more, made it more of the Flock of Seagulls type vibe in some of his songs. But really he's not somebody that I would search out. I probably wouldn't hear a song like a new song from him and go, "Oh, that's The Weekend." It's not
Right.
that. It was just music that you went, oh, I'm just listening to it. I get along with it. It's good. There's nothing acerbic about it. But on this particular album, it was very sad and melancholy. And it was almost like even The Weeknd was going,
Mhm.
I can't be locked up in my house anymore. Like it was different than his other albums. It's not that I liked it more or less, but I kind of caught the vibe of he's understanding what COVID is like. We're sad, we're living alone, wow, wow, wow. And I went, maybe I don't need to listen to that anymore. But when I hear songs off of it, it reminds me of that time.
Yeah.
I picked that one and it was simply because out of the albums of 2020, there were a lot of people I had not ever heard of, but
Yeah.
I know I listened to that because it was just on my radio.
Yeah. I think he found out that it wasn't good that every day was the weekend. So,
The Weekend without an E.
even though he can't spell weekend, which is terrible. But anyway,
That's what I said without the E. What is happening? But I picked that just because it was like, it was sad, but it wasn't because I've just
Yeah.
listened to music. Yeah.
Yeah. I always likened to him that he could have been the next Michael Jackson, but didn't take it. Didn't go that way.
Didn't try hard enough.
I don't know. It just lost the groove R&B thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just was because he got that voice.
Mm-hmm.
Stu, number 5 for you.
She's got a better one.
Did he do a Super Bowl in 20 or 20?
Yes, he
Okay.
did. And we all looked at the Super Bowl and go, what's happening here?
It was that face song. I can't feel my face. Was that
Yeah,
it?
Yes.
I can't feel
Okay.
my face when I'm
Yes.
with you,
Oh, you can't sing
but
that.
I love it.
We can't- No, let's keep doing
Come
that.
on, Mark,
It
do
makes
it.
us look good. Makes us look smart and happy. Come on, Mark, go do it.
Oh, all right.
Okay, what's yours, Sue? Because I'm interested. We usually agree on these things.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, so COVID, oh my gosh, big spider on the wall. I don't know if I listened to any music in 2020 other than Sarah Celine, because that was through the computer.
Yep.
That sounded really old. That was through the computer.
Through the
But I honestly don't remember because I started out the year, I was working 3 jobs. And then the girls were home and Mark was home. And there wasn't much time to really listen to music. I don't honestly, looking through all of these, I don't remember any of them, which is really weird. So I kind of didn't cheat. Like these are not my favorites, but I just kind of went through and like listened to them and I've since heard them beyond 2020 because they still played them and everything. So that's kind of how I chose these. And this number 5 seems like a sellout. But it is what it is, and it's Folklore by Taylor Swift.
Great record.
Yeah, and it's a good pop album. I don't really know. I think I chose her like another week not too long ago too, so I don't want to go too far into it, but I have come to appreciate her a little bit more over the past year, and this album, it's professional. It shows up her songwriting. It's her simple music, it's her voice, and I think I don't know. I guess Taylor Swift would be a bright spot in 2020. One of the very few.
I agree.
She did do another record in that same year.
In what?
Evermore.
Evermore?
In the
Mhm.
same year?
Yes.
She did 2 albums in 2020.
Yes. Evermore is another well done piece. I mean, she gets Bon Iver to tap dance the way she wants him to. She's quite the artist. Actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
So,
I was gonna pick
All right,
her, but
good.
I knew somebody would.
Yeah,
you
somebody's
know,
got to. We put out
Yeah.
2, she's gonna get 1.
Yeah.
Jeff Young, he also picked Taylor Swift.
yeah.
No, he didn't.
Yeah,
Jeff, you're, yeah.
You know, I thought you were going with Chef first.
But I
Was I?
thought too.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
see,
Chef.
I screwed up the order. All right.
Already.
Show
Grateful
your
Dead.
face.
No good.
Grateful dude. Sorry.
Ju-
Hey, everybody. So I'm going to start by something. I don't know if Mark has said anything to everybody else, but we have a new panelist that will be starting with us pretty soon. He's going to represent the young market because we're all a bunch of old fucks. But so I would like to introduce, sitting right next to me.
Is that Everett? Hey,
Yeah.
Everett.
I thought you were gonna show us your cat.
Hello.
Hello again, Everett.
Howdy, everybody.
Welcome to the
he'll-
show.
Hi.
Thank you.
What
He'll
do
be
you know? Do you know which show you're going to start with?
Not quite. I've been kind of busy this week, but
Okay.
I'm gonna look at them this weekend and kind of see what's what.
Awesome. I'm
Cool.
looking forward to it. We need that younger
We need-
feedback.
Yeah,
right?
we need
I know you got the
young
I know
market.
you got the oldies down and all that because you're in the in that groove and everything, but you got a fresh set of ears.
Yeah, we
Nice.
definitely need that.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
and what's your back? I need to know more about you.
Well-
How old are you?
Next week.
Were you?
I am 16. Yeah.
This is awesome. I need this.
Currently enrolled in some college courses, and one of them is a music appreciation course.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
he has his own rock band in the shower.
Yeah.
Whoa!
We're great. We're called the Soap Bars.
They sell
But
out
Chef
all the
Jeff
time.
isn't in the shower with you, right?
Let's go away from that one.
All right, all right.
He's my
Let's.
next door neighbor.
Oh, okay. Let's move on. Move
Yeah, he
along.
is the next door neighbor.
Okay.
And technically probably our biggest fan besides me. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Have to look at merch.
Yeah, he has all the merch.
yes, yeah.
All the merch. I love it.
Yeah, that was a blank one.
That's awesome.
So, okay, so my number 5. I found it hard. I listened to like 30 albums to try and figure this
Yeah.
out. And I went with what Mark said earlier, comfort. Bands that I were familiar with, and a couple surprises after listening to them, how actually good it was. And I am sad I didn't notice about them. But no, my number 5 is Elvis Costello with Hey Clock Face.
Really?
Very, very interesting album. He when he first starts his first song, he got 30 seconds of sitar. So he was imagining John Lennon or something. And then it moved into a mild rock song that was really good. The flow of this album is completely out of control. It goes from a high to a low, to a medium, to a low, to a high. It has no consistency. But the songs are very interesting. I believe all of them were written by him. The problem was with this album and other albums I'll have on, they were not really made in 2020. Most of them were recorded in 2018 or 2019, but not released for other albums until 2020. This one was ready for the recording studio in early 2020, but it took them 10 months to produce because of COVID problems and stuff like that. I think it's a good album. I would suggest it if you're an Elvis fan, and Elvis he's done everything from classical music to country to everything in between. The guy is very universal. What I will say is that this is his 30th some album or something ridiculous like that. But
yeah,
I think it's 31st actually. But his voice is starting to deteriorate a little bit. His age, for whatever reason, he's gotten a little more gargly, a little more nasally, starting to sound like a young Bob Dylan now. So, but I enjoyed the album. I really did. I had never heard it before. I've heard Elvis many times, but in my search of albums, I gravitated to people I knew to listen to first, and then go from there. But I enjoyed the album. I think it was a very good album, and definitely makes my top 5. Mark.
cool. Yeah, I reviewed that album back in 2020. There are some tipped up guitar work that screams of the old Elvis in the impersonator ways, but the vocal perception of this record is lost on me. I'm not driven by the lyrical talk speak that was going on. It was being instituted at some points. There was the singing kind of stopped in certain places,
Yeah.
but the lyrical content and what he was trying to deliver still had all that. So, plus he's a pretty good musician.
It was I'm not gonna say a strange Elvis album, but because Elvis is strange as it is, but
Right.
it was definitely different than some of the stuff he's produced before.
Yep. Jeff Young.
Well, in the spirit of COVID and the end of the world, I picked a band called Apocalyptica.
Oh, perfect.
So it's the album is Cell Zero, written as CELL-O, like cello, because they are a Finnish cello metal band. This is their 9th studio album. It's all instrumental. It's their first fully instrumental album since Reflections, their 2003 album. It's their first studio release since Shadowmaker, which was almost 5 years earlier, which is the longest gap they've had between albums. And they produced it by themselves with no record label behind it until they actually were done with it. They put the album cover has a cello on it, because they were in this album. They said they're going back to their roots as really a cello rock band. And you can see on the cover, the image is a cello flaking away into particles, kind of like if you think of like Marvel's Avengers at the end of Infinity War when they were flaking away.
Yep.
And then there's one track on here called Rise that was later released with vocals from Simone Simmons, who's a singer of a Dutch symphonic rock band called Epica. But it's all instrumental, but it's really, it's good. You listen to it as background music. You can listen to it to drive. There's not really a bad time to listen to it. It's really good. Obviously, like a lot of times you would think of the cello strings replacing what you might typically think of where a guitar string would go, but it's just different with the cello, and they just did a really good job with it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Right.
I don't know them.
Oh yeah, they've been around a while. Yeah, it's a basic metal instrumental.
I'm a loser.
Singers here and there from time to time, depends. I think, but anyway, yeah, symphonic metal, basically.
Yeah.
Now the cello.
Yeah, they had like a
always
tribute, some tribute to Metallica a few years back. That kind of made radio airplay and stuff, but
Yeah, cellos. That's hard. Yo-Yo
I've
Ma,
got a couple.
right?
I got a couple. This what I actually I think I did on the channel a review of one of the bands, and this cellist is I wouldn't want to meet her in a dark alley. She was a ripper, man. She had that. She was covering Slayer. How do you cover
Oh,
Slayer
cool.
with a cello? Wow. Anyway, so my number 5, as Jeff Young mentioned, is 9 Inch Nails. It is
There you go.
Ghost 5 and 6. So back many years ago, don't remember the date, but they did Ghosts 1, 2, 3, and 4, the double album. I was trying to pull it out over here, but it's wedged in there real good. I probably need to expand my collection. I'm just blown away by the instrumentation and genius that is Trent Reznor. He obviously multiple Academy Award winner for soundtrack work, with Atticus Ross as well. He's a dynamic professional at what he does, and people can say he was responsible possibly for the death of the recording studio and doing things digitally, but the man's a maestro at the keyboard, in a dark realm or in a whatever realm he needs to be in. But he makes the electronic stuff work harder for him and imagine a bigger sound than he could produce from the actual instrument. So, and Ghosts 5 and 6, which came out that year, would actually be the 10th and 11th studio albums from 9 Inch Nails. but it's completely instrumental. And as you can tell, it has you know, it's not the harsh Nine Inch Nails, but it's still a
It's like a musical score.
yes, very and a musical score to
Okay,
some
yeah.
sort of avant-garde dark drama, unfolding in some space and time. You can take it any way you want. The critics, they pretty much love anytime they do this, and I agree with them. It's always the better part to me. The screaming sometimes doesn't make it all. It adds something, but sometimes it takes away from the whole instrumentation. So it feels like it's pounding. This is not. This is symphony done electronically, and with obviously his band. So yeah, mine are Ghosts 5 and 6, and of course,
Yeah,
there's no
5
album
especially has like a
tangibles
real
of vision.
ambience to it.
Yes, very ambient. Yeah, but not Brian Eno ambient, where you like.
Yeah, Brian, that was a bad ambient, wasn't it? He invented ambient that made you go to sleep. Oh,
Back to Damn.
oh my gosh. Well, now I have to follow up what you had to say with my number 4. Miley Cyrus.
There's the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah. Happy. Plastic Hearts. Oh my God, Mark, you
remember that album. I like that album.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that she moved from this was her place of moving from just pop, whatever Miley Cyrus was, to something that was more rock, but paying homage to like her new wave heroes that she liked. Maybe she didn't record that stuff, but she liked new wave artists and she was trying to do something different. And it was 2020. And who's gonna, really skirt you from that because there was nothing else coming out, right? That's what she was thinking. I don't really have a lot of other things to say because I can't even believe that I'm on a show that one of my picks was look at Sue laughing. One of my picks was Miley Cyrus.
It's okay. One of the
Hey, I
shows
understand. Just first of all, Mark likes Miley Cyrus.
Okay.
And second of all, I'm only laughing because just wait till you hear what I've got. So
Okay, cool.
I will tell you,
So
Hannah Montana was a very funny show.
I know,
it.
but
Okay.
it was kind of I went, oh my God, this is what I'm listening to.
She's got
But
pipes. I will say this. A show they've already had connection with me once before, but I watched this particular show on YouTube religiously. And one of the gentlemen on there that I think is really unique, that he picked that album. He goes, I don't care anybody says, this is a rocking album. It's a good time. You put it on in your backyard and you can't help but going, he goes,
fun.
Other albums, you get one single or something. This one's got more meat on its bone. He's right. It does.
Okay, well, I feel better because I would have had that moved up on my list until I looked at her name again and went, oh, I'm not sure. But the whole album, I just was like, and there's one of the songs, Prisoner, has Dua Lipa on there, and you go, Prisoner, and you go, but Dua Lipa's on there, and it's fun, and it's like, however, Angels Like You on that album was a song that I went, oh, there's this lullaby. This is where her voice isn't trying to be raspy, isn't trying to be country, isn't trying to be anything. It's just her voice. And that's what, after listening to that album many, many times, I liked it. I liked her. I liked what she was trying to do with reinventing herself and what was going on in 2020. The Angels Like You was just where you went, anybody will be able to listen to that song. Any mother trying to rock their kid to sleep for the rest of time, it's a lullaby. And I went, that's a voice that will be, and I hate to say this, but she'll be somebody like Barbara Streisand. Like, I think she can keep reinventing herself because she has a good voice, like Lady Gaga and them. Like, Lady Gaga had something in 2020. I got some other ones up here.
Okay. there we're jumping on a train to Nowhereville, because that album is a complete and utter Madonna ripoff. But we won't go there.
That's
So you
okay.
liked
She's not on my
I
list.
think
She's
it's
not on my
good.
list.
What?
She's not. I didn't put her on my list.
I'm just saying I don't want to go there because I can't. No,
I'm
that's
just
bad
saying
record.
that there's some things that during COVID, you found a lot of people reaching and other people just going, I want to get back to what made people feel comfortable. And there was this
Again,
one
yep.
song on Miley Cyrus, Angels Like You, where you just stopped forgetting about being lonely and being in COVID and you just went, well, that's a lullaby, and I'm rocked back into normal life. And not Lady Gaga. I'm sorry, Mark. Don't shun
No,
me from your show.
I know that record because when it came
I
out,
know you do.
I was like, I had high hopes, to be honest with you, that we were getting
Yeah.
away from something. And
Mhm.
Sue.
So my number 4 is Lady Gaga. No, I'm kidding. I should do that just to shame you.
Yes.
I feel no shame.
Yes.
All right, 19 people bought that record, and then 19,000 other people had to buy it with them.
All right, well, I like Lady Gaga, but anyway, I went with somebody else who I'm not
It's so
super
funny.
familiar with her, but talking of raspy and gritty and not uplifting, bluesy, despair, was Lucinda Williams with Good Souls, Better Angels.
I love it.
It's a really good album. It is, you know, she sings the mood. It's all about the mood, and obviously the music end of it, the instrumental, it's all wonderful. Good Souls is probably my favorite. I don't know. I'm not quite sure yet.
Mhm.
There's a few that grab me, but um this would have been a really good album to listen to in 2020, honestly.
Yeah.
So she kind of hit it on the mark. And there's 12 songs. There's 12 songs. I think, what did I read? She's 67 or 68 maybe years
She's
old.
67.
So she's still got it. You know, she sings from the heart, from the soul, and it comes out pretty powerfully in this album, in my opinion. So it was a nice find.
She's too depressing for me.
For an individual who has
She is
considered,
depressing. She is.
well, yeah, who is considered one of the greatest female albums ever made, she may have outdone it with that one, which is crazy. More on that later, I'm pretty sure. I just so you know, this is 2020, so I have a history back where I did Beyond Your Radio's top 20 of 20, and she was in the top 5 at that point. So
Yeah, she's
that
awesome.
album is yeah. So anyway, we'll go to the Grateful Dude and see what his number 4 is.
Okay, well, we're gonna go back to somebody goes way back. It's probably the most notable, if not the most notable, singer-songwriter there ever was, and we're gonna talk about Mr. Paul McCartney. This is called McCartney 3. Basically, there was 2 other albums before this that were in the same 1 and 2, but they were made in 70 and 90. So there's a lot of it. It's an interesting album. I had never listened to it before, and I found myself planning to listen to it just once, and ended up listening to it about 4 or 5 times because I enjoyed the songwriting. It was different. It was interesting for him. Very, very ballad oriented. Very ballad oriented. The first and the last song are about birds, and he wrote it. He had it recorded it at his private studio in Sussex in England, and he did a lot of producing, but he brought somebody back that he's been with a long time, George Martin.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
And George Martin did the producing for almost the whole album. except for one song. So I enjoyed it. I really did. It's McCartney. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah.
Maybe it was slightly depressing, but not too bad. It was just
Yeah.
very lyrical. Music wasn't much to write home to mom about, but the lyrics really held it. So
That's
there
awesome.
were some, I remember some sonic moments to that record. But a lot of good relevance. Even in some cases, he dialed back the vocal to some degree.
oh, it was
Doesn't-
way dialed back.
Yeah.
It was McCartney on half speed. It just everything was very mellow tone. I listened to it, as I said, it was a good album. I probably listen to it again. But it's the type of album, if I'm not careful, I would fall asleep to.
Mm.
So, okay, Mark, back to you, buddy.
Thanks, Jeff Young.
Yeah, not a tremendous amount to say about this, but I picked a South African band,
What?
Seether.
Oh,
Their
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
their album, which is titled in Latin, Sivi Pacem Parabellum, which actually means if you want peace, prepare for war.
Yes.
The frontman, Sean Morgan, said that the album sound was influenced by the late 1990s alternative rock, especially A Perfect Circle and Deftones, which he had been actually listening to heavily in recent years. But if you've ever heard Seether, it's not much different than what you've heard before, but it's just good.
Yeah, heavy record. I loved it. I think it's their best record. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah,
It's a rock album for sure.
Yeah, one of the better heavier rock albums that year for sure. It was on my list, probably 9, 8, 9. Let's see, 9. All
Didn't
right,
make
so my number 4, to the females we go. Phoebe Bridgers, her album Punisher. The cover alone tells you everything you need to know. She is standing alone in a darkness with an odd blue hue and a reddish blood earthen floor. She is a willing participant as the Punisher and the one receiving the punishment. She leaves no lyrical stone unturned, and her album is the Sarah McLachlan for a new age, an edgier age, which hints of all kinds of influences from folk to indie, sparse and dense. There's so many minor things going on in the background of this instrumentation that you begin to hear it and it begins to affect you, which is stunning to me. That atmosphere, you start to really feel it in her vocal. Her range is not tremendous, but the way she delivers it is. Perhaps, since we've had this discussion just the other day, the female version of Noah Gunderson in lyrical dark self-awareness, no holds barred songwriting. So check it out, Phoebe Bridgers, Punisher.
So she needs a hug too.
I think she probably, maybe, I don't know. If you live in the, hey, Alice Cooper, he was doing what he was doing doesn't mean he was a psychopath. So,
Are you sure?
Well, I think they kick him off the golf course.
I've seen him in concert. I don't know if I could say that station. I saw the son of a bitch bite off a rat's head. So, okay, after that.
Oh, God.
On stage.
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
But listen, it was a Kentucky Fried Rat, so it was tasty.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There you go.
Let's go back to Damn again and see number 3.
Okay. Well, it's so like what everybody would expect, but it's Bruce Springsteen. Letter to You.
Oh, whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever. I had to because I was just so happy after all these years of me feeling like dead that he was still writing music that had that formula. And it wasn't something that was innovative. It wasn't anything that went, ooh, Bruce Springsteen is a totally different person. No, It was Bruce Springsteen. It was comforting. It was something we expected. Very formulatic, however you want to say it, Mark, but you couldn't have to even take a minute to guess who wrote it, who performed it, who is singing it. And I liked the very first song as soon as he started out. Uh, it's very storytelling. Like he starts with that voice that is going to tell some kind of epilogue of his life. And you have to stop and listen to it because that's the way his voice was going with it. So that album was one of those things where I went, it's comforting. That's what I know in this world of a lot of shitty things going on. And it was Bruce Springsteen, and he started to tell a story. And I don't really know anything else more about the album that other than just having it on and it just being in the background. So when I looked at your list and I go, oh, 2020, I go, that has to be it, but I don't know why. Other than it gave me comfort in a time of really uncertain crap. And I love you, Bruce.
There
Will
must
you
be
marry
Better
me?
wish
really
to you.
good people ahead of him.
What?
That I said, your next two must be really great because that's hard to top that one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the next two are great, but one person already stole my number one.
Uh-oh.
So I got nothing to talk about when I get
It's
to
okay. It
number
happens,
one.
you know.
I will
It
go
happens.
back
You stole
to
mine. You stole
her.
mine, but I
Yeah.
still have something to talk about.
Okay, cool.
Let's
Oh, gotcha.
more on that later.
More on
that
that later.
We're like
Very good.
CNN.
Okay, Susie.
Whose are you gonna steal?
No one's gonna pick this one but me. So this one is she's an acquired taste. You love her, you hate her. Probably anybody who's older than a Gen Xer doesn't like her, but maybe, I don't know. I like her. I like her as a writer. I like her as a singer. Fiona Apple, Fetch the Bolt Cutters.
Oh my God.
She's obviously it's not I mean she's older now and it's not she's not right out the box and she took a lot of chances. I give her credit for it. I don't know if it always worked, but it I don't mind if it doesn't, so long as someone's trying and they're staying true to themselves, and I think she really does that with this album. And what starts out is it kind of sounds like rambling, but it kind of begins to take shape a little bit as you listen in. And if you know Fiona, then you kind of learn the method behind her madness, so to speak. So I believe, I want to say this was her fifth album, maybe. Which, is that right, Mark?
Yeah.
5 albums?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, if you're sure, I'll go with you on it. I'm trying to think of what the fourth one is. It's not coming to me, but then
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's number 5.
let's put it this way: she's got one album that was titled correctly, and then after that, wow, I don't know what she was doing.
Well,
Well, she was on heroin then, that's why.
I wish she would have done, I love her and paired up with the piano.
Yeah.
The piano is always beautiful.
Yes.
In a
Yes.
really weird way. I always listen for other influences and maybe you'll completely disagree, but I heard really fine lines of Sheryl Crow and also Sophie B. Hawkins mixed in with her
Yes.
delivery and timing on some of these songs. Is just kind of weird, but yeah, that was my number 3.
But I
Good.
more
Love it.
blues, right? I get that record was
Yeah.
all over the place for me.
Yeah.
That was a tough. That was
Yes.
a tough one.
Experimental. I think it was
Yes.
experimental, maybe is
Yeah,
the way
no
to
question.
put it.
Yeah, and why not? I don't mind, because sometimes those things that happen like that, you're like, that doesn't work, and then you go back and you go, wow. I guarantee you, oh boy, what was the Beatles' White Album? Oh,
Ooh,
that's sad.
69.
70.
70? 69. Can't be 70. Would it?
I
I
thought
got-
it was
anyway.
70. I could be wrong, but I thought it was
That-
70.
So, you know, the last half of that record, anybody in that era would have been going, well,
Yep.
what is that? Well,
Yeah.
that stuff
Yeah.
became what is, right? Wow, you know,
Exactly.
that's Nirvana before Nirvana. You know, I mean, it's
Absolutely.
crazy. Yeah, not in its era, way ahead of its time. So maybe that is
Absolutely.
just when I saw that title, Fetch the Bolt Cutters, I'm like, I figured it was
me
going to be off the
too.
rails. I
I
figured
went,
it was going to.
oh,
I know
oh.
where I listened to it for the first time, Painting Lauren's Room.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Lauren was like, who is this?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
to say
that's
that.
right. We painted there. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And a perfectly beautiful gray. Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Albums to paint too. Great.
Albums to
love it.
paint too. Hey.
Love it.
Grateful
Wow.
dude.
Yeah.
You're
Okay,
next.
we're gonna pull a rabbit out of the hat. So this is a band that I've seen many years ago, and basically I thought they were dead or something because they haven't produced anything for a long time. But I am talking about one of the greatest progressive bands in my book, Deep Purple.
Oh yeah.
Deep Purple did an album in 2020 called Whoosh. WHOOSH. Whoosh.
With an apostrophe. Gotta have the apostrophe.
Oh yeah, it's apostrophe.
Or the
Big
exclamation
apostrophe.
point. Exclamation point.
Yeah. So it was a good album. I really enjoyed it. It was, Deep Purple being Deep Purple. It was a lot of new writing. Matter of fact, God, I can't remember his name. One of the guys who wrote most of their stuff quit just before this album. He walked out of the band just before this album was produced. I mean, but it was a good album. It really surprised me. I had heard of it, and I probably listened to it back in 2020, but I don't remember much of it. So I went and listened to it and said, wow, this definitely makes my top 5. So yeah, I enjoyed it. If you like Deep Purple, my woman from Tokyo and stuff like that, one of my favorite songs of all time. That brings me back, and then I listen to this album, and you got the guys doing the same chords, same riffs. It's but it's comforting.
I knew you were gonna say it.
Yep.
Everyone's
Comforting.
comfort.
I like that. Comforting.
It's
For finding out that I have no comfort. I don't know. Okay.
Everybody needs comfort.
I haven't said it yet. I'll have to find a way to say it. I feel left out.
I won't go there. Let's go
Funny.
see what Jeff.
Funny.
Let's go see what the other Jeff has.
What has Jeff Young got for his next?
I picked an album called Father of All Mother Effers by Green Day.
I love it. I love it.
So it's their 13th studio album. Critics liked it. Traditional fans, not so much.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I think it's a good album. Billy Joe Armstrong, the frontman, said they wanted to make it sort of an old time rock and roll record that kind of goes back to the history of rock and roll, and said it was inspired by glam rock and like T-Rex and Martha and the Vandellas and some garage rock. But he also said he thought it might have wound up somewhere between Prince and MC5. But it is different for them, but it's good. I mean, they can do different things well, I mean, a lot of their albums are quite different from each other. So they did it again, and it's good.
I give them credit. I mean, when I first heard that record, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is stepping off. They could sit there and do an American Idiot album, part 2, part 3, part 4, and they would sell millions of copies because that was dynamic and crazy. But this is, they've proven that they're a little bit more than the 3-chord. And his voice is catchy. He's the hook. He can say the guitars are the hook, but he's the hook.
He's the hook. That's when you know it's Billy Joe.
I didn't say he was a hunk, but I said he's a hook. Let's get that. And there's absolutely no comfort in that. None whatsoever. Damn it.
True.
All right. So my number 3, I am going to be brief, because
That's a rarity.
it's Bob Dylan. Okay. Rough and
Excellent.
Rowdy Ways. The first moment I put that record on, I was smitten. This is old school
Smitten.
soul
Smitten.
R&B, and all I
Smitten.
could picture was one of those dance floors, old wooden ones, in a fourth story of somebody's, mansion that people get to go to, only, the elitists. And it's a screaming good record at its level of what it's doing. Rough and Rowdy Ways, Bob Dylan. I'm very certain that I am not alone, so I will keep going. So, Deb, you're next.
Oh my God, no.
Foreshadow.
I'm a little verklempt because my last 2 picks have already been picked. But number 2
Oh,
is my
mine.
Fiona Apple. Fetch the bolt cutters. Maybe that's saying something to us, Sue.
Right.
What was interesting about her is because my first introduction to Fiona Apple was obviously in her dark, as we found out later, she had influences of heroin, and it was just a very dark time. So I'm listening to this album as for Fiona compared to where she was, lighter, happier. Some of them songs, not so much, but most of them were a little bit more, maybe they were dark, but looking for hope. They weren't just like, it's the end and this is the song and I'm over and bleh. Shamika is the one song that I heard her influence. She has talked very openly about being influenced by John Lennon and Yoko Ono. And this Shamika, it slips into some Sergeant Pepper's. If you listen to it, there's some measures of Sergeant Pepper's where you're getting like this little Mark, what's the little
Trippy,
is
psychedelia,
yeah.
delia.
And it's like the whatever little instruments that they use in that Indian music where it's just like
Sitar.
yeah,
Sitar.
yes, the
Okay.
sitar. Like I went, wait a minute, Fiona Apple has this going on in her album. I went, this is pretty cool. So I listened to that over and over again without really knowing that I'd be on a show like this. And
Who knew?
who knew? There's songs like Ladies. There's songs that are so out of the norm for Fiona from what we knew her as being this dark, morose person that I went, she knows how to write lyrics. She makes poems. That's hard to put a poem with music and make it a song. And this album was my number 2, and I don't have anything more to say because Sue already said it.
It's a little out of timing, or his odd time signatures in some cases.
Yes, yeah. But I find it interesting that Sue and I, who've known each other forever, we have all these albums in 2020 we could pick for. And in number 3, it's yours, and number 2, it's mine. It must say something to whatever she's speaking to and us as women.
Yeah.
The hook
She
is
gets
in.
us. She gets us. Yeah.
Yes.
Did
she come for dinner? Did she come from Chef Jeff?
I'm trying to think if we could do a meal to music. Fetch the bolt cutters.
Great.
Maybe just to her name, Fiona and Apple.
Let's we'll just see. Everything's got apples in it. Oh, okay. All right, that could happen.
But we like her. Obviously, we like her for a reason. She resonates with us. That's mine.
Sue, number 2.
All right. My number 2, again, like I didn't know she existed. Well, I did know she existed, but I guess I never thought that I'd be listening to her, but I was kind of introduced to her more thoroughly over last summer when I was out traveling. So younger generation, and it was on all of their playlists, and it is Halsey, and the album Manic.
I almost picked that.
See.
I
I
almost
had
picked
heard. You almost picked that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, there's a lot of catchy songs on there.
I
These-
couldn't get the
Yeah.
album.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it on my Prime. I was going to,
Oh.
because I knew that album and I couldn't get it on my Prime to re-listen. So go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's all right. I don't have too much to say about it other than, she does have a beautiful voice. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know about the maturity. I don't know about that, but she mixes a lot of different stories with modern sounds that obviously attract younger generation. But it's still, I don't think it's a turn off to us older people either.
Yeah.
So she's got a lot of creative arrangements. I think she's bold. I think she takes some chances that because she's confident in what she does, she pulls it off. I think it would not work for some other people.
Yeah.
And she just stands behind it. Songs I liked on this were Ashley, 3 a.m., You Should Be Sad Without Me. But that was probably like the big pop one. I don't know all the other ones that were played, but
Graveyard.
she
Yeah. Graveyard.
she did Alanis's Interlude with Alanis Morissette, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, that was a nice surprise. It would have been nice to know it was around in 2020, I guess.
Yeah.
But
You had to
Exactly.
know
it's not too late. It's not too late to listen. So
That's right.
Exactly.
Sometimes you go back. I honorable mention coming up that'll tell you about going back. She, that she is in the, I don't know, in that music multiverse of people who know and care and listen, and she is not just some pop. She can write a
Right.
cool song because her next
Yeah.
album, which came out, was produced by Trent Reznor. So
Yes.
which tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly. Yep.
The Grateful Dude will now give us his numero dos.
Well, this one's interesting in a few ways. This is the first time in all my collaborations with Mr. Mark we ever had anything together on the top 5 ever. This is the first. Thank you. This is Bob Dylan's "Rough and Rowdy Ways." It was. It was probably tied. My number 2 and number 1 were really tied. I listened to them 3 or 4 different times, right back to back, to see which I liked better, and I couldn't tell you. I won't say what number 1 is, but you already heard it, unfortunately. So both my 1 and 2 have already been announced. But I really liked this album. I think I agree with Mark all the way. There's a couple songs that I thought were just out of this world. I mean, really, really great writing, great. False Prophet and Black Rider.
Yeah.
I thought those 2 were really good. And then he ended with Murder Most Foul. And I really liked that song.
What, 16 minutes?
What?
It's 16 minutes.
Hey,
it goes from the assassination of Kennedy through all kinds of comparisons. It's fantastic.
The end of my life.
It is fabulous.
It's still going on.
Let's put it this way. It's so long, they couldn't put it on the record. They had to give you a second record to have that you could listen.
Yep.
Didn't fit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's impressive, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. What is like 77 or something? I don't know. Whatever.
Well, that's what happens. He played with the Dead for 7 years, so that's what happened. Those long songs.
They sneak in. Oh,
yeah, they sneak in. You never know. You can't figure out how to stop. That's the problem.
The producers in the thing is going, "Hey Bob, does he know it's this long?"
Hey Bob, stop. But hey, no, great album. I really enjoyed it. I can't believe me and Mark are on the same page on this one because we are usually
That's
letters
awesome.
apart. So
That's
but,
awesome.
yep. So anyway,
Congratulations.
Marky, yours.
Congratulations.
Never to happen again.
It might.
Jeff Young, what's your number 2?
He just goes, congratulations.
I picked Project Regeneration Volume 1 from Static X,
Okay.
Industrial Metal Band.
There you
It's
go.
the first studio album in 11 years following their album Cult of Static in 2009. So the album includes part of the last recordings of the deceased frontman Wayne Static, who died in 2014. So they did replace him, but what they did is they had found, I think, 4 just about complete songs, and then some other tracks where it was just vocals, and then they just found a lot of stuff they didn't realize they had. So they put this project together, and it's also sees the return of the original Static X lineup that they had when they first started. Like Wayne Static died from an accidental drug and alcohol overdose, but the album received critical acclaim, and it's good too in the sense that, you know, some of the earlier Static X stuff, if you're not used to listening to them, it's kind of hard to understand what Wayne Static is saying because he's got kind of a harsher voice, but he sings with almost his regular voice a lot of this too. So it's more of a, I guess, even though they're industrial rock, it really does sound a little more like a rock album. So I think it would probably appeal to more people than some of the earlier stuff. But
Can you sing it for us?
I could, but that would ruin our New Year's Eve party. So I can't
Yeah,
do it.
I gotta wait. Okay, all right.
And we
I'll
might
wait.
lose ratings.
Oh, sorry.
We're doing karaoke that night, apparently. All right.
Oh, I can do that. Not well, but I can.
We 4-part harmony.
Yes. Yes.
But
We're gonna,
yeah,
Good.
so
good. I that album was on my radar. I listened to it. I was a little let down in how it was produced, but I see how they were putting it together. It just didn't seem like it was live. Like, you know, it was in the studio, like it was all pieced together kind of thing. You know, and with industrial, you'd think I'd give it, you know, I wouldn't, if that's what industrial is, so to speak. But I just, again,
they originally were
first
gonna ask some guest vocalists to complete the album, but then they found more stuff.
Wisconsin Death Trip is still monumental. It never was outdone. I mean, I love the fact that they had other albums, but that one for me, just that's the go-to, you know. Maybe we'll do an album ranking. It'll be just you and I, apparently.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. I'll try it.
All right. So my number 2. Well, from across the pond,
Across the pond.
the Idols, Ultra Mono. Kick ass all over the pond, punk, twist, bass riffs that'll bend your strut, level your eardrum, and engage your ear delightfully without remorse. The Welsh frontman is a monster in the vocal delivery, and it will take your attention immediately. Perfect for what was going on at the time. This is not the time to hide. Let me give you a lyrical line from this album. You will not catch me staring at the sun, not sucking on a dum-dum, not staring around to run, or not turning around to run. No hallelujahs and no kingdom comes. So you will not catch me staring at the sun. So if you can get an idea of this kind of roughness, I would have gone to other lyrics, but there's expletives galore. But they're ear-catching, they're well put together, and they make fun of anything from the weapons argument to how we teach our kids in school. And even later on, he exacerbates about a village that apparently sucks around him. And it's hilarious. And it's punk to the core, but it has some great bass riffing and stuff going on. It's fantastic. It's something new. Nothing like this was going on at the time. They were definitely, but again, they weren't getting airplay. They weren't No record label was singing their praises and anything going
Yeah.
on out there. So they were lost in that. And the only reason I got, because I do what I do, but I remember driving to hockey when we could go, and that was playing on the car ride,
I think I remember
regardless
that.
regardless of my daughter's age.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a minute.
Think of the headstones with a touch more punk.
Mhm.
The headstones with a touch more punk. That's funny.
Yes. But
Got it.
still a charismatic front man. And maybe the guy can't sing, but that's okay.
You don't have to
Bev,
be a
you're
singer
number
to be a
one.
vocalist.
Yeah,
Okay.
hey,
Well, my number one is kind of anticlimactic, I have to say, Miss Sue, because it's Lucinda Williams. Uh, Good Souls, Better Angels. I picked this album because I've always liked her. She's very guttural blues, but she's got like punk in her. That's what I've always liked about her was she'll be singing, you're just waiting for her to like do something unexpected. And I'm not sure that this album did it, but it was 2020 and I had to judge her against all the other albums and I love her. Um she's got some songs in there that are being a little bit avant-garde and challenging the norm, I should say. So like the one song that was called Can't Rule Me, You Can't Rule Me.
oh,
It's like a spiritual awakening about like her inventory of you can't judge me based on this, the other thing, because I've lived this in my life and you haven't lived it yet. So why are you judging me? And I found it kind of interesting in 2020 that we had so many people sitting in their bedrooms looking at a TV or their phone or whatever and judging what we have gone through in our life. And this song and this album was you can't judge me. You don't know where I've been. Um, it was a little bit rebellious, I guess, but very raspy blues punk. Uh, there's like this one drum set. I think it's a song called Drum Set. Before the song starts, it starts out with a harp. Harps don't get used in music that's being
not that often.
recorded. The
Not on
very
a Lucinda
onset
Williams record.
that I listened to that song came on and I heard a harp for probably 2 or 3 measures and I went, who does that? But the name of the song is Drum Set. And a harp is a percussion instrument. Strings and fingers or hammers, that's what makes a percussion instrument. The harp is a percussion instrument, and this was the beginning of this song, and I went, what? Drum set. And it starts with a harp. And I would love to get into her head. I only had 2 days. I didn't get her on the phone, Mark, but I'll get her on
So
the phone
she,
and go, where did that
whether she
harp
take your
come
call or
for
not,
that
but okay.
song, right? I want to know where that harp went into that song that was called Drum Set. I think it means something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't it
All I
seem
know
like a
is
harp is like the hardest thing to play?
Yes, it is. Did you ever try to play
Well, no.
one? Those little strings are like,
Jeff has had his harp in his basement and has not touched it since he bought it 17 years ago.
you have a
He
harp?
saw it. It was an impulse purchase. He thought the
Stop.
strings were cool, but once he had never touched it, he was scared of it. Okay, Jeff does not
Harps.
have a harp in his basement. I'm just
Oh my God, I was
go
going
along
over
with
to
me, people.
So that was my thing. Number one, Lucinda Williams. Sue is right.
It is a
She's
bold record. It's raw. She is riled up like she should be. That's where she does the best. And just if you have never listened to a record from her, you Car Wheels on a Gravel Road or this record,
Yes,
that will tell you,
yes.
that will give you a great indication of this. And despite, as a male listening to the record, it's a little unsettling. I still
Yes.
understand where it comes from and where she's
Yeah.
at. She has made a career, a very successful career. She gets to do Bob Dylan covers and do all kinds. She gets to do whatever she wants. And I'd love to see her live, but it hasn't come around. But I would definitely love to see her.
Well, I'm in tune with your wife, so that's where I went.
Yes, yes. Sue, you're number one. Was it taken or are you okay?
Nobody's taken this one.
Oh,
Nobody.
of course not.
Nobody takes Sue's number one.
Nobody takes Sue.
No, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it before.
Come on.
But it actually was a good, considering 2020 and what it was, this probably would have been a nice escape for people. Fleet Foxes Shore.
What?
Anybody? Fleet Foxes Shore?
Oh, Fleet Foxes, yes.
Yes.
Fleet
Uh,
Foxes?
Fleet,
Fleet
Fleet Foxes.
Got it.
So I don't know how to describe it other than very beautiful music, folk, rock, country. Probably heavy on the folk, I think. It
Yeah.
is the band's fourth album, and their second album since they regrouped after 2016, after a hiatus. Robin Pecknold is a singer-songwriter, and he's, I think, talented. Sometimes the lyrics are really simplistic, but he makes them work. He started working on it, I think, in 2018, recorded in 2019, and continued on through 2020. How would I describe the lyrics? Kind of uplifting and hopeful, peaceful, probably kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of I can't think of the word. I can't think of the word. Maybe it'll come to me, but they're not dull.
Let me see if I wrote something on it.
For me personally, and you guys who love him will probably be like, okay, no, and maybe you're right. But I hear very faint shades of like Neil Young, and like maybe like a little tiny bit of Coldplay if they were more folksy and rock, into this. It's different. I don't know if I love it. I don't love it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the listen. I'll probably listen some more. I think I'm not going to name the songs because nobody's except maybe Mark has ever heard of them, so it will mean nothing. But I'm Not My Season on YouTube. There's like a live version of it, and it's really pretty. He's singing in a church. So acoustics are really great. It's a song of hope and perseverance and facing conflict. So just kind of a cool find. And their videos too on YouTube, it's kind of a bit of an escape, I guess.
I like
So,
that.
Yeah.
We need that.
Something different. And so
in 2020, I wrote, the band has an ebb and flow that follows the shore in a careful line that they've drawn before. So it's
goodness.
right on par with all their other records because they seem to stay in that wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I like it.
It was good.
I like
I have to
that.
give it to them.
Good surprise pick.
It's awesome.
They have 4 albums, maybe 4 or 5.
This was, well, again, this was their fourth album since they regrouped. Apparently, there were more earlier on, I guess. They have a pretty big following. People love them. So
They tend to get pretty good crowd, and I forget where they're from, like Washington or something, maybe.
Seattle, I believe.
Okay,
I think.
yeah.
I could be wrong.
So West Coast.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
They're right
I love
now.
that.
They haven't had an album since The Shore. I don't know. I thought there was one after that. Yeah.
I don't know.
I love that.
Grateful Dude, what say you for number 1? I know it's been taken probably.
Well, for a quick interlude, here I'm going to introduce I'm going to introduce for the first time here. He's going to do one pick. I'd like to introduce the Ungrateful Kid.
I haven't figured that name yet.
Go ahead, Everett. You've
Okay,
got the floor.
So for my album, the one that I picked Jimmy Buffett's album that came out in 2020 called Life on the Flip Side. I am a bit of a Jimmy Buffett fan, so I felt somewhat obligated. I like the album. It has a very kind of just danceable feel to it. You kind of like listen to the whole thing, and like you'll notice like halfway through to a song, you're kind of like swaying your head left to the right. The first song is just kind of like one of those where you're just like you find yourself singing and you're like dancing along. You're kind of like, wow, I'm really liking this. And it's got some really funny ones. There's one called Cussing Island, which as far as I can tell is about him taking his kids who can't stop cussing to an island and realizing that they're probably learning all like their cusses from him. And it's got some like nice, calm, like kind of like some of his like melodies, ballads almost, but it's definitely got some more of the very island feel. There's a song 50 minutes at the end where you're just spending the whole time like whatever you're doing, you just stop and you just listen, and you kind of are like like it's very descriptive and vivid. You have an idea of where you are, and like you got fun steel pan drums in the background, just like giving you like this constant like looping melody that you just can't not listen to almost.
I don't is with Jimmy. Was there ever a time where he just went, "Oh, get the steel drums away from me! Get them away! Get them away!"
I think you're gonna have to go back to like his first album, like A1.
Yeah, I think so, because that was a country record, right? There's no steel drums.
That was when he was still doing country.
I love that you're a fan. That's great because that's awesome. At that age, that's a tough sell.
Yeah,
I would think.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, I don't think my dad would talk to me if I didn't at least like him.
Yeah. His dad's a parrot head.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Parrot head. He's a parrot head.
So anyway, my number one was already poached by the beautiful Deb. Yes, you me match once here. No, so yeah, but I have a different take than she did on this album. I find it.
Which album?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Letters to You, Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
I find
Bruce,
it
the boss.
I find it non-typical, the boss. Letters to You, awesome song. A little bit of country overtone. It's beautiful song. I like all the songs. And for those who have not seen it, I'm serious about this. On Apple TV, if you have it, okay, they did a 1-hour movie on this album. And it's absolutely fabulous. If you haven't seen it, you must.
Cool.
So,
All right. So you're not going to be mad at me that I put this out of 2020 as number 3. And it's not my number 1, and you're going to hold it against me?
I'll never hold anything against you.
Thank you, honey. I'm right up there with you.
Well, if Miley Cyrus was number 1, then we'd probably hold it against you.
Yeah, well, if she was, I'd be committing suicide.
Okay, let's just move away from that. Let's move away. Move down the line.
Yeah, good album
Anyway,
from Bruce.
so it was a fabulous-
I did not discover that album until after. I didn't.
Really?
No, I like Bruce. I've got, I have an affinity for Nebraska. That's my favorite record.
Oh, Nebraska's the best.
I don't like long, drawn out. I love the live stuff. That's great. He nails it. It's great. I love
But this
whole
album was
camaraderie of it
so.
all. But it took. Jeff said you need to listen to Letters to You again, and I did. And I'm like, the problem was it before that? Yeah. Didn't he do that Western Skies thing? Did that come before?
Yeah, Western Sky, and I love that.
Yeah, I went, I don't care. I don't know what you're doing. No. Wow. So that was good. So when that came out after, I'm like, he's got snow on the cover. He's standing there. Oh, I don't know. And I put it off. Right. There's 787 albums I have to listen to. I only get through 493.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I
Well,
have to put somebody aside.
It was really good.
It was a very good
So
album.
yeah, this
Thank
year,
you.
my first listen.
And
so.
Deb, you should definitely watch this movie. You know,
I will.
yeah. But
I got it.
All right. So what does Jeff Young have for his number one? The guy who told me, I don't even know if I want to do this show. There was nothing there to.
Well, I picked We Are Chaos from Marilyn Manson.
Okay.
The 11th studio album. It had critical and commercial success. So this album was written by Manson and Shooter Jennings, son of country artist Waylon Jennings.
Crazy, isn't it?
They were introduced a few years before they made this from their former bassist. And the same year they were introduced, the producers of Sons of Anarchy, the TV show, which if you haven't seen it, you should, asked Manson and Jennings to record a song for the finale to season 6. And their version of the track actually remains unreleased because they were both actually not happy with it. The track, Join the Human Gang, was actually written by Jennings alongside the show's creator, Kurt Sutter, who actually played a character in the show, and was eventually rewritten and released by White Buffalo as Come Join the Murder. But Manson went on to portray a character in the 7th season of Sons of Anarchy. I don't know if anyone recognized him. He was one of the guys in the jail that was bald and had no eyebrows. Anyway, so Manson and Jennings also collaborated on a cover of David Bowie's Cat People Putting Out Fire for one of Jennings' albums, Countach. And so what's funny is the way it's kind of explained is David Bowie was a primary influence on the album's composition, specifically in the material contained on Bowie's box set called A New Career in a New Town. Manson actually gave a copy of the box set to Jennings as a gift and explained that Ashes to Ashes from Bowie's 1980 album Scary Monsters was the song that inspired him to become actually a musician. And then Jennings revealed that the album that made him want to become a musician was Antichrist Superstar from Marilyn Manson.
That's so bizarre.
Funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's great though.
All that from a record. How many records in is that for him?
That's the 11th one for him.
11.
Wow.
Right? Wow.
Winning.
All right. So
Winning.
my number one is obviously no one else is gonna pick it.
No.
I went to Camden Town, England, to a tenor saxophonist of international sets out to truly bring home one of the greatest sax jazz albums in the last 2 decades with a myriad of professionals, including Colombia's La Perla, where the album was partially recorded in Bogota, besides London. It is Nubia Garcia's Source. In her own words, it's a collection of thoughts and feelings about identity, family history, connections, collectivism, and grief. Ultimately, it's rooting yourself and getting grounded in yourself and in your community. I was thinking a lot about what power people, what powers me, what feeds my soul, what's the source of humanity's power when the world's falling apart. They're all thoughts I have, obviously, during the pandemic and social upheaval and the movements that are happening currently. It's a very wild yet cohesive album, bending all kind of arrangements and tempos. It was definitely the best jazz record of the year. Nothing was even close. And I actually did a meal to music to it. Pretty sure it'll be on the website. In that year, we were able to get together. So that's my number one. Quick honorable mentions if there was anything from anybody. I was going to think probably not.
Nope.
No.
I will.
Enough.
We exhausted all possibilities with these.
Well, so when you look back at, when I said I went back to Letters to You, I watching another show, I heard somebody go, "You got this record," and they showed this record, and I went, "Who the hell is that?" And he said, "This is ridiculous rock, jazz, craziness," and he goes, "It's from 2020." I'm like, "What?" Man's name is Taku Yabuki, Yabuki, Modern World Symphony Number 3.
Okay.
Check it out if you're a rock jazz lover. It's instrumental to the core.
Okay.
Totally awesome. And then I'm gonna go to one of these guys that's such an enigma in the music world, Sturgill Simpson. Now he's done folk, he's done bluegrass, and he's done heavy rock. And this one, he decides to take some of the heavy rock songs he's done and turn them into bluegrass. So this is called Cutting Grass Volume 1, The Butcher Shop Sessions.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm pretty sure he's on the cover riding a tractor. That's, it's fantastic. He knows how to pick. He knows how to get his bluegrass on. I believe that Chef Jeff, Grateful Dude, I introduced him to some of that because he is a bluegrass lover, and I think it's a record that it's a institution that sort of gets lost in the melee of the music multiverse and needs a little bit more. Other than that, I don't know, what am I guess I want some cow. Eminem had an album called Music to Be Murdered By, which had some real clever things going on it, including a piece with Ed Sheeran. If you want heavy metalcore rock, Asking Alexandria's Life Like a House on Fire. And if you love your glam frontman, and they're hamming it up pretty good, Palais Royale, The Bastards. It's that theater art rock punk swagger, full of commitment kind of stuff. The music and the swag to every inch of the record, each cut. It's a kind of a delight in the vein of In Excess. So that being said, anybody else?
I got one thing to push in there.
Okay.
I would like to honor somebody very quickly who died last week. I knew him a long time. I'm always had a affinity for banjo players. I used to make fun of me of this, but I used to watch Hee Haw regularly just so I could listen to interesting country music. But a guy named Buck Trent died last week. One of the best banjo players I've ever heard of.
Wow.
Yeah, and he died at age 85 last week. So I wanted to do a little memorial.
Yeah.
So, hey, Mark.
Well, I'll thank my panelists for doing this. This is 2020. We are 2 weeks away, every other week. And I believe this is the albums we're thankful for. Considering the holiday upon us, I want to say that
Sue's laughing.
albums we're
Wait.
thankful for. I don't know why you're thankful for them. Tell me why. It'll be an interesting measure.
It could be thankful they ended.
Oh, I think
Thankful
it's,
for that
I
time,
got
that
him.
piece.
I got
Should
it.
be interesting. We're on the web at www.beyondyourradio. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please comment. What were your 5 from 2020? What were you listening to? What was your comfort? Thank you for watching. And as always, happy listening.